Good morning, everyone. I'll call this meeting of the Community Growth and Economic Development Committee for Tuesday, June the 3rd, 2025 to order. Can we have a roll call, please, Madam Clerk? Try your mic again there, Councillor Pickles. No, we don't. So if you want, I'll try and keep an eye on you. You can raise your hand, and if you have any questions, you can always either send me a text or an email, if that's okay. All right? Okay, declarations of pecuniary interest. Any from committee members? Hearing and seeing none. Can I have a motion to adopt the minutes of our meeting of May 6, 2020? Moved by Councillor Kerr. Second, Chair Henry. Comments, questions, or otherwise? Anybody opposed? Carries. There are no statutory public meetings. Our first item is 5.1, a presentation from Danielle Culp, Project Planner, and Chris Leach, Manager Transportation Planning, Durham Region's Active Transportation Progress Report 2023-2024, 2025 CG8. Good morning.
Oh, good morning.
Whenever you're ready there, thanks.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Chris Leach, and I'm the Manager of Transportation Planning. And I'm joined by my colleague, Danielle Culp, who is a project planner on the transportation planning team. Today, we will be presenting an overview of the progress made in implementing some of the region's active transportation infrastructure initiatives and programs, and we'll talk about ways in which the regional cycling plan is currently being implemented. Before we dive into the details of the progress made to date, it's important to understand the vision for active transportation and what we're working towards achieving over the next 20 years or so. The Regional Cycling Plan was last updated in 2021. It focuses on actions and initiatives to support the expansion and enhancement of a region-wide cycling network that's connected, accessible, and comfortable for people of all ages and abilities. The network is to consider the unique trip types and preferences of those that live, work, and play within the region. Between 2023 and 2024, the region has made significant progress in supporting the advancement and promotion of active transportation through a range of initiatives that demonstrate commitments the region is making to improve active transportation connectivity, awareness, and education. The next two slides will give an overview of some of the advancements regions made in 2023 and 2024. All right, for starters, we're making progress to increase the percentage of morning peak period trips made in Durham using active modes of transportation, which includes walking and cycling. And this is currently at 9% based on Transportation Tomorrow survey data for 2022, and we're on target for a goal of 10% by 2031. Over 13 kilometers of new cycling routes were added to the region's primary cycling network in 2023, and over 690,000 social media responses or impressions were made, and these are related to social media channels about active transportation programs, initiatives, and infrastructure in 2024. And this is about double the amount of impressions made in the 2022 or 2023 reporting years. So this is a demonstration of how the region continues to expand awareness of sustainable transportation options, but also the public being interested in the benefits of active transportation. The region also allocated about $900,000 in 2024 to help achieve shovel readiness of infill cycling projects to help address gaps in the network. Infill projects are those that are not tied to a road widening or reconstruction project, but are specifically targeted to install cycling facilities. Over 14 kilometers of new cycling routes were added to the region's primary cycling network in 2024. And 20 pedestrian crossovers, or PXOs as they're called for short, were installed at regional road intersections or mid-block crossing locations. In addition to the initiatives identified in those snapshot slides, a number of enhancements have been made through the addition of new cycling routes on regional roads. I'll now turn it over to Danielle Culp to provide a brief summary of how we are progressing on network implementation to help us keep pace with phasing timelines identified in the Regional Cycling Plan and Transportation Master Plan.
All right, well, thanks, Chris. Throughout 2023 and 2024, the regions added several new cycling facilities to support different cycling trip types and comfort levels. At the end of 2024, 28 kilometers of new cycling routes have been constructed across the region, which is shown in Figure 1 here on the slide. Now, the RCP identifies that 162 kilometers of cycling facilities be installed on regional roads by 2031. This includes multi-use paths and other on-road cycling facilities that fall within the paved portion of the regional road right-of-way across all 8 area municipalities. As shown in Figure 2, we can see the distribution of cycling infrastructure on regional roads by facility type that's been built between 2022 and 2024. The portions of the chart shaded in blue are what was completed in 2022, and the green portions show the number of kilometers completed in 2023 and 2024. Now, while we continue to make progress, there's still a significant amount of the network to be implemented, which is shown in the gray on the chart in Figure 2. This really demonstrates the importance of regularly reviewing the network and looking for additional opportunities and resources to help accelerate the implementation of cycling routes in Durham. Now, in addition to new cycling kilometers added to the region's primary cycling network, the region's also made additional advancements to monitoring and measuring sustainable travel behavior volumes and active transportation along key corridors to help support and encourage safe cycling trips and identify new priorities for connectivity and network build-out. For example, annual cycling counts were conducted across 295 stations during a one-week period in 2024. This last year, we saw just over 400,000 cycling counts recorded, which helps us better understand the volume of network users and determine locations for future connectivity improvements. These counts are comparable to what we saw in 2023 and really reflect that strong and stable demand for cycling infrastructure. Figure 3 on the screen highlights the top counter locations in each of the area municipalities in 2024. We can see through the map that there is new cycling activity across the region, and it also helps further illustrate that we need to continue to expand the network and provide that high quality, comfortable facility type to help build those continuous connections between and within our municipalities. To complement the physical infrastructure and help encourage behavior change and a shift to more active modes of transportation, regional staff have implemented a variety of key initiatives, campaigns, and tools in 2024 to promote and encourage active transportation. The regions hosted various cycling supportive campaigns and programs, including the Rural Cycling Loops launch event in September of 2024, which highlights 13 routes that help connect cyclists via on-road rural cycling loops to tourism experiences to encourage cycling tourism within Durham and promote scenic recreational routes for cyclists of all skill levels. Staff also delivered education campaigns for safe cycling and promoting active transportation through the region's Bike to Work Day, which took place on June 6 in 2024, and that's really meant to celebrate and kick off Bike Month celebrations all throughout the month of June. A trail pop-up in partnership with the Oshawa Cycling Club in Whitby along the Waterfront Trail was also held in September of 2024 to help increase awareness and education of safe cycling practices. Together, these campaigns and initiatives have really helped the region increase our reach and engagement with programs and cycling education materials But now I want to take a moment to look ahead to what's coming next in terms of future projects and next steps in advancing the network. So our focus continues to be on strategic growth that enhances connectivity, safety, and accessibility for cyclists across the region. I'll share with you some of the key projects planned for 2025 and the steps we'll be taking to keep this momentum moving forward. So the region plans to continue building out the primary cycling network through a coordinated approach that includes both capital roads projects and standalone infill initiatives. In 2025, we're targeting 12 kilometers of new active transportation infrastructure as part of larger capital road works, along with 9 kilometers of standalone infill improvements designed to close gaps and strengthen our network. These projects are more than just additions. They're strategic links that help us move forward to fully connect and complete our PCN. The focus this year is unlocking key connections, improving safety, connecting people to important destinations, and laying a strong foundation for a more accessible and seamless cycling network across the region. As we look ahead, these investments form the groundwork for a broader effort, one that includes ongoing delivery with a strategic approach to implementation, data-driven planning, and deeper collaboration and coordination across departments and municipalities in the coming year. So in terms of next steps, our priorities for 2025 will be to continue to advance short-term cycling routes by implementing routes identified through the RCP and the region's 9-year capital budget and forecast. We'll also coordinate with area municipal staff and other partners to improve the monitoring and tracking of active transportation assets, including the development of a new map viewer and establishing a set of indicators to track active transportation. Through the funding received from the Federal Active Transportation Fund, we've hired a consultant and will be kicking off the development of the bicycle parking guidelines later this month. And we'll continue to provide annual updates to Council on the progress we made annually to advance active transportation and recommendations from the RCP. To conclude, it's clear that the region is making significant strides to support active transportation, and the work presented demonstrates the strong partnerships, coordination, and collaboration between works, finance, community growth, and economic development staff. It's critical that we continue to invest in active transportation in order to establish the region as a premier cycling destination and a leader in coordinating and delivering community-based cycling initiatives and programs to ensure we achieve our sustainable mobility targets. This concludes our presentation, and we welcome any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kerr, questions?
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you. Thank you, folks, for your delegation presentation. I'm happy to sit on the Durham Active Transportation Committee, so I'm aware of this. A couple of questions. In working with the Works Department, do you have a date when you're going to start the multi-use path bridge over the Oshawa Creek on the west side of the current Simcoe Street Bridge that's going to get replaced or refurbished? Because that's an integral link between the MUP that goes north of there to the 407, and there's a gap there. It's not safe for cyclists. As soon as we get that, it can come all the way down into Oshawa. I just wondered if you had a handle on when the work would start on that bridge.
What bridge is he talking about? Sure. So just to clarify through you, Mr. Chair, Councillor Kerr, you mean the Simcoe Street Bridge at Bloor Street?
No, I'm talking
Near
about
Blue
the one north of Glover's, and it's the big
Oh,
dip,
yes.
and then you come back up toward the post-secondary campuses.
Yeah, I off the top of my head, I don't have a sense of the timing of that one, but we can contact Works and let
Thank
you know.
you.
Yeah,
So
I don't want to throw a date out at the top of my head because I'm not quite sure.
That leads me to my second piece, which I'm really happy to hear of all the infill projects that you do. It's more of a comment, I guess, than a question, but you know, I often say to people, if there were gaps in the road network where you drive along and then there's no road and then you have to detour and come back, it wouldn't be very satisfying for drivers. So this is really good news to have these infill connections made. It just improves the fluidity of the cycling network. So thank you very much for your efforts. Thanks, Chair.
I figured you'd have a question. Councillor McDougall, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Chapman. Thank you for the presentation, and as always, happy to support all the cycling initiatives that the region and our lower tiers have. Active transportation is certainly near and dear to my heart, and I think in terms of sustainable infrastructure and sustainable transportation for us all, there's nothing more important than making sure that the first and last mile are accessible for those to get around. Just looking at your chart in terms of the progress, it seems that the region is making, I'm going to say, relatively good progress on paved shoulders, buffered shoulders. But when you look at other areas in terms of multi-use paths and cycle tracks, signed routes, et cetera, and then similarly in terms of, there's a large concentration in terms of, obviously, in terms of cycling in this active transportation report, but really active transportation includes more than just cycling. So first off, I guess the first question is in terms of the multi-use paths, is the complexity on that's working with multiple tiers in terms of lower tier, upper tier, province, et cetera, to have those paths move ahead?
Through you, Chair, and thanks for the question. In terms of multi-use paths, you're right, there is a bit more complexity in terms of coordination when it comes to working with the lower tier and us as a region, given us, the region, have jurisdiction within the road right-of-way, and given that that falls outside of that, there is more coordination to that. It also, when you look at the distribution of our network and what's being proposed, there's a big portion of the MUP, and you're absolutely right that that is not just for cyclists, it's also for pedestrians, so we are trying to be cognizant through our plans and the work that we're doing going forward to balance those needs, but also from that regional perspective, what's within our authority. So what we're trying to do is enhance that coordination and collaboration. There's a lot of discussions and talks, and we have been able to move more projects forward, I would say, than traditionally we have in the past. So I do see we're making progress. I understand that you recognize it is a lower percentage than perhaps some of those other facility types, but a lot of that, you're right, does have to do with the coordinated effort that's involved. But we're committed to working with lower tiers and our other partners to help accelerate the advancement of MUPs the best we can. I also think through the cycling wayfinding and signage strategy, as we start implementing that, there can be more of that concerted effort to work together to help accelerate not just the signs that support the infrastructure that's already built, but help bring some of those new routes onto the network as well to expand those connections.
Thank you. And just a follow-up question, if I might, Mr. Chair. In terms of, so I sit on the accessibility committee here at the region, and we all have accessibility committees at the lower tiers. And tomorrow's Bike to Work Day, and we all think that cycling to work or cycling to school is a nice to do thing. It would be great if we could do it. But in terms of accessibility, as we're seeing advancements in personal mobility vehicles, i.e. whether it be a electric bicycle or a powered wheelchair or et cetera, we're seeing more and more of these cycling routes or multi-use paths, even sidewalks being used by these devices. What is the region doing in terms of working with the accessibility committees to enhance the availability of the accessible network for these individuals that are readily using these, whether they be seniors or people with disabilities? Is the region working on those sorts of initiatives?
I think, yeah, thanks for the question. So I think through our Works Department, I know that we have had, and it's in one of the areas is in the report on the pedestrian crossovers, and then also working on upgrading, some of the bicycle signals and the cross rides, and those go with the more accessible like sidewalks with the tizzies or whatever you call them, those pads. And so I think through our Works Department, they do, I think, coordinate with the Accessibility Committee on some of those upgrades. And they are, it's sort of because of the, the multi-use paths and that being, sort of an area municipal asset on the regional property, so to speak. But we do coordinate with the municipalities on doing those intersection upgrades. But that would be something that I know is of interest, as well as, like, I think in our presentation last time we had some intersections on the leading pedestrian intervals as well. Mm-hmm. So they're doing work in those areas.
Very good. Thank you. Thanks for all the good work. Keep it up. Thanks.
Councillor Wu.
Yeah, good morning, and through the chair, and thank you very much, Danielle and Chris, for the presentation. I'm looking at slide 10, increasing cycling mode share, and targeted 9% of Durham residents walking and cycling. Now, when I look at the graph and when I look at the high counts on, and it seems to be along Taunton Road, Taunton and Brock, Taunton and Lake Ridge, Taunton and Anderson. Now, over a 1 week period, now, could you be counting the same cyclist? Like, we want to get more people cycling, but are we double counting or triple counting the same person, the same cyclist?
Through you, Chair, and thank you, Councillor, for your question. So yes, that can be a factor in terms of we cannot differentiate between if one person has gone back and forth multiple times, but typically people are continuing. We generally don't see those double counting things occur given the frequency of when these counts are conducted and the methods that they're using. One thing we did see is we did remove a station just for that very reason. So last year you would have seen in the report there were 296 stations that we had set up and where we were conducting counts. This year it's 295, and that was because they were in such close proximity that there was that consideration taking into account we may be double counting or counting the same person along that stretch. So we are actively looking at where we are counting each year, and we make those adjustments to reflect the demand and ensure that there is a higher accuracy in what we're reporting.
Okay. Thank you, and thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Seeing no more questions, thank you very much for the presentation. I think Councillor McDougall already mentioned that tomorrow is Bike to Work Day. And in Oshawa at 9 o'clock on Saturday morning, there's a community ride event for Bike Month starting at 9 o'clock at City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have delegations. I want to explain something. The delegations are speaking to two staff reports. So Councillor Kerr, they would normally get 5 minutes each, but Councillor Kerr, you have a motion?
The red light is on. Yes, I do, Chair. I'd like to move a motion to waive the rules of procedure to allow both delegations 10 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Seconder? Mayor Watton? Anybody opposed? No, that carries. Thank you. So we are at 6.1, Ursula Kressenbacher, if I said it right? She's online. Okay. Is going to talk to us. She's the owner of the Sunflower Farm, the local food in Durham Region, Durham Farm Fresh Marketing Association annual update on Ontario Local Food Week 2025 EDT-11. Ursula, can you push your request to speak button? There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you now. Thank you. Good morning. Go ahead.
Good morning. So yes, my name is Ursula Kressenbacher. I am the owner and farmer behind the Sunflower Farm in Beaverton, and I am the new chair as of last year for Durham Farm Fresh. Just a little recap, Durham Farm Fresh Marketing Association is a not-for-profit membership-based organization established in 1993. Our goal is to help local producers, farmers, and others committed to local food market their local products to our local community. Hopefully my internet is strong enough to let me know if it's not and if I need to repeat anything. So just to go over some 2024 highlights and how funding from the region contributes to Durham Farm Fresh goals. We had a major brochure design update. The 2024 DFF brochure received a fresh visual update, improving readability and overall appeal for both visitors and stakeholders. The new design better reflects our brand and mission, showcasing member farms and local food initiatives. We also had a major website redesign. A complete website redesign began in late 2024. The new website officially launched earlier this year with enhanced user experience, mobile responsiveness, and improved tools for member promotion and public engagement. I really encourage you to take a look, as it is quite the update from our previous version. Feel free to find a farm to visit this summer through the website. The RED grant impact. With support from the Rural Economic Development RED grant, DFF was able to hire a paid coordinator. A key milestone, this rule has enabled more effective execution of initiatives such as social media outreach, brochure coordination, website content update, support for marketing and event planning. And this grant directly contributed to increased organizational capacity and member support. The culinary demonstrations. So in 2024, DFF successfully hosted 3 culinary demonstrations in partnership with Durham Tourism, bringing local chefs and farm fresh ingredients into community events. For 2025, we aim to double the number of demonstrations, further promoting local food literacy. Member feedback. Regular member feedback from members continues to shape programming and support. Positive input has affirmed the value of marketing materials, events, and the addition of the coordinator role. Suggestions are being integrated into future planning. A direct part of the regional funding also goes to media exposure through PX96 radio. This is a key area in which regional funding allows farms to utilize discounted rates for radio advertising. The advertising presence has grown. So in 2024, we had 14 radio spots. And in 2025, we're planned to increase to 18 to 20 spots, amplifying outreach and visibility across the region. For our 2025 goals, continued website enhancements and member profile improvements are ongoing. Increased workshops focused on farm business skills and marketing. We currently in the works have one that we're working on, the CPR and first aid course training. And expand culinary demonstrations, as I mentioned, to reach new audiences. Strengthen collaborations with tourism, municipal, and regional partners. Some priorities and challenges that we would like to bring up is, of course, our local zoning bylaws, which I know has been a focus, speaking with our regional rep, Allison. Farms continue to face regulatory hurdles when diversifying operations and opening to the public. So for events, markets, or experiences, while some bylaws have been recently addressed, DFF strongly advocates for progressive and supportive policies to support farm businesses' diversification plans to grow a rural economy. We would also like to focus on greater flexibility for farm-based businesses. This remains a priority to ensure the long-term viability and growth of local agriculture. All in all, we thank the region for its continued support of Durham Farm Fresh, and we look forward to further collaboration in 2025 and many years to come.
Great. I was told you needed 10 minutes, but that's great. You're very good. Any questions? No? Thank you very much, Ursula.
Sounds great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So next is 6.2, Gary Jarzo, Interim CEO, Spark Center Annual Update and Metrics Report 2024, which is 2025 EDT 12. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you, Chair and committee members, for the opportunity to present our annual report and metrics. I am the interim CEO for the Spark Center. I have with me Christy Sansom, who's our Director of Operations. Despite our report being 2024, we will give you trending to 25, and because we just finished our full year 2025 the end of March. And we'll also give you directionally where we're heading and some of the focus items that we have on our agenda. I should also inform you that I took over as interim chair after our previous CEO retired at the end of January. Being past chair of the board asked me to step in as interim CEO. I'm pleased to inform you that after getting 200 applicants to our job posting, the nominating committee triaged it down to 12 extremely qualified candidates. We interviewed 6 of them. We shortlisted 3 and had them come in and do very detailed presentations for the nominating committee. And this week we are in the process of putting an offer of employment in front of one of those candidates, and hopefully they'll be starting July 2nd. So, just as a refresher, in case you are not familiar with the Spark Center, and I hope there isn't anybody in the room who isn't, we are one of 17 regional innovation centers located across Ontario. And as part of that network, our mandate is to support technology companies who are looking to grow and scale their businesses. And we do that through educational master classes, advisory, one-to-one support, intellectual property education and support, research and development connections, funding support, connections, and a variety of different ways to help founders and business leaders to scale their business. Despite the fact that we are sector agnostic, we do focus our efforts on these 5 main categories shown on the slide, which do align with the region's focus, and all of our assets in the region are there to support them. If you look at our key performance indicators, and again, at the bottom, you'll see our full year 2024 and the arrows uptrending to our 2025 full year metrics. You can see the key things from an economic development perspective are obviously number of jobs created. We look at the advisory hours and event hours as a metric, but clearly it's jobs created, businesses started. That is what really drives the economic development in Durham Region. The advisory hours and event hours is merely a catalyst to provide that. We did grow the number of student placements. We grew the number of equity investments in a number of our clients. We did actually reduce the number of high potential clients that we worked on over the last year. And the primary reason for that is we're finding the business environment much more challenging. And so we want to do more with less as opposed to less with more. So we reduce the number of high potential clients so we could spend more time with them to ensure higher rate of success. And as you can see, in terms of our client sales revenue, we almost doubled it year over year. This slide here really is a graphical representation of the funding that we receive from the provincial government, municipal government, regional government, what we get from a federal perspective, and also what the Spark Center invests in economic development in Durham Region as well. And on the left side, obviously, the different municipalities who are all beneficiaries of these investments. So when you look from a provincial perspective, we have MedCat and around 500,000. And that, again, is all provincial funding provided for us to provide our programming services to these entrepreneurs and founders. We do receive a total of $60,000, 50 of it from the region, 10 from Oshawa, to support these programs. And then through the OVEN project, which we were the regional technology leader, we get approximately $800,000. And every one of those municipalities do benefit from that funding that comes through. The Spark Center also took an effort to apply for a FedDev grant, and we did get a $2 million grant. And out of that, we got the Launchpad Accelerator Program, which focuses on female entrepreneurs and newcomers less than 5 years in the country to help those founders. And that we had a total of $161,000 over the last year, and for the Elevate IP, $160,000. The Spark Center ourselves, we invested over $1 million of our own funding, which we generated through our for-profit subsidiary being Synergy Labs, to invest in the Eastern Ontario Innovation Corridor. And that is a model that really is trying to create a hub-centric profile from here through to Ottawa to help support entrepreneurs and founders, people who are trying to start businesses. And we are providing them with enough, if you want to think, bait to allow them to kind of get interested in starting their businesses, but all of the support being in Durham. So everything that we do in the Eastern Ontario Innovation Corridor is to draw these companies into Durham to improve economic development in Durham. This is also a model that is highly advocated by the MedCat ministry in the provincial government, and they are using our model, working with Invest Ottawa and Launch Lab in Kingston, as a model for the Western Ontario RICS to replicate, because they want to see much more collaboration. So the reason why I bring this up is because I want everybody on the committee and everybody on Durham Regional Council to understand that we invested of our own money more dollars in driving economic development to try and drive companies into the Durham region. And we believe that's very, very important. And out of there, we also run our Amplify program, which is supporting through our SUV designation, the Startup Visa program, for foreign entrepreneurs to come into our country and start up their businesses in the Durham region. We expended about $600,000 over the year. So the point I'm trying to make here is that we get many asks and requests for support and additional programming. All of it is dependent on funding, because that funding drives resources, which allows us to provide that funding. I also wanted to make the very strong point that we are highly focused on economic development in Durham region. Every dollar of ours and that we get from our provincial, federal, and municipal funders, we are spending to focus on economic development in the region of Durham. In terms of where our focus is, as I mentioned, we do have our Spark proper, and I would say this graphical representation shows where we put our focus, both in terms of resources and services. So we do have Creative Spark, which is our marketing department. It's a very small part of our business, but we do provide marketing services for many of the companies that we are providing programming services for. Our Synergy Labs is the kind of turquoise colored, and that really is a program that allows us to provide professional services support to foreign entrepreneurs to help them understand how to do business in North America. And it also is trying to make them successful so that they stay in the Durham region. That business does provide profit for Spark Center, and it is that profit that we have invested, as I mentioned, over $1 million over the last year in the Eastern Ontario Innovation Corridor to help drive economic development in Durham region. And then we have the Eastern Ontario Innovation Corridor in blue there. And again, that is something that the provincial government is very supportive of and is advocating us as a model for all the other Eastern RICS. But I want to make it very clear that the primary focus of resources and efforts that we do on a day-to-day basis is highly focused on the Spark Center, and that is what is driving the bulk of the economic development in the region of Durham. Last chart for our presentation is this periodic table, and some of you may have seen it before. This represents all of the companies, local and newly landed into it. And I would say out of these, 80% are local companies, 20% of them are new landed through our SUV program or other programming services. I think the key point here when you look at this slide is it represents $23 million of investment in the region of Durham. And so this is critical not only to drive economic development in Durham region, but it is also reflective of all the efforts done through the Spark Center and our associated organizations for the economic development benefit in Durham region. And we just want to ensure that we have the support of regional council and all the municipal mayors, that we can continue doing the work that we do and continue and increase the funding so that we can provide more services to these founders and business leaders. That wraps up my presentation. I'm more than happy, Chair, to answer any questions that anybody on committee or on staff have for us.
Great, thank you. We start with Councillor Kerr.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. Good morning, Gary, and thank you for your presentation this morning. Very colorful. That last periodic table is kind of a creative representation of what's going on. A number of years ago, I attended a Economic Development Forum at Ontario, what's now Ontario Tech, and they talked about the bleed of 1,000 startups in Ontario a year, pretty much getting drawn to the United States because that's where the venture capital money mountains are, in Boston and Silicon Valley. And I asked at the time, what can we do in Canada to develop some kind of a money mountain here to keep them here? So is that still a reality, or what steps have been taken and may be taken to create an investment money mountain, if you will, to keep those companies here, to keep those jobs here, to make Ontario better?
Thank you for the question through the chair. Yeah, I mean, obviously the venture capitalists, the bulk of them and the progressive ones have traditionally been in the US. And yes, that was a trend. I think a lot has been done over the last, half a dozen years in terms of trying to provide other potential options for founders and people who start up businesses to get investment. You may be aware that we now do have the Angel Investors of Durham organization, which we have a very close relationship with. We support a number of their events, and that is for angel investments for startup. That's right after friends and family. That's where they go to get their next round of financing. Beyond that, we also have a lot of work being done locally through Business Development Corporation Bank, so BDC, and there's a number of other organizations around who are supporting it. So yes, it was in the tech years a big issue that companies started up here and then very quickly headed south because that's where the money was. But I think that trend is changing, and I think the political environment is also helping to change that too. There's a lot of companies that want to start up, stay in Canada, be a Canadian company, and do business in other countries in addition to just the U.S.
Thank you. And you mentioned there are 17, if I may use the phrase, Spark-like centers across Ontario. To your knowledge and understanding, are they doing something similar to what Spark's doing in terms of this angel program you're talking about to try and develop funding to keep their developing companies in Ontario?
Through the chair, yes, that's an interesting question. We are one of 17, and we all provide the same basic programming services depending on the industrial and industry sectors that we focus on. But yes, for the most part, that's what they're all trying to do, is figure out how to help these founders find the kind of investment that they are. And there are a number of programs that are happening where there are microloans available. We've even looked at ourselves at providing an investment facility, but it becomes a very complicated scenario when you start to get in the investment side, because you have to look at first, second round mezzanine financing, et cetera. So it takes a lot of resources and a lot of financial skill to get in there. But yeah, there is a lot being done by all these other RICs doing very much the same thing to try and figure out how to keep Canadian companies in Canada.
Good. And my last question, Mr. Chair. At one time, when Sherry Colborn was there, I remember there were a number of startups and people coming from Brazil to go through the Spark Center and to generate their ideas. Do you still attract international clients, people coming to Spark to generate and develop their ideas, or is it now more focused just on Ontario and Canadian ideas and entrepreneurs?
Through the chair, yes, great question. We are a startup visa designate and have been for a number of years. And through that program, we are provided a number of certificates that through a very detailed qualification process, we're able to attract companies over to Canada. If they do certain levels of investment, startup companies, and hire people, they can get permanent residency. And we have been very successful at attracting people in the past. I recall Brazil, but we've had also from Vietnam, China, Iran, France, Dubai. We've had a number of foreign entrepreneurs come into the country from various companies, or countries, I should say. And we still are startup visa designate, and we'll continue to run that program.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. That's all the questions. Thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you for your time.
We move on to 7.2, report number 2025 CG8, Durham Region's Active Transportation Progress Report for 2023-2024. I need a mover, please. Chair Henry, seconded by Mayor Watton. Any questions or comments? Anybody opposed? That's carried. Move to economic development. There are two reports. Report 2025 EDT 11, Local Food in Durham Region, Durham Farm Fresh Marketing Association Annual Update in Ontario Local Food Week. Report 2025 ED 12, Spark Center Annual Update and Metrics Report. Can I have someone move those reports? Mayor Watton, seconded by Councillor Kerr. Anybody want to pull either of them? Hearing, seeing none. Anybody opposed? They are carried. We have no advisory committee reports, confidential matters, or other business. Our next meeting is September 2nd, 2025. Motion to adjourn, please. Councillor Kerr. Yeah. Seconded. Chair Henry. Anybody opposed to adjourning? Then we are adjourned. Thank you very much, folks.